awesome. And I think that's the most exciting part about Metrolink is the potential that it has and the role that it can play in being this wonderful asset for the citizens of Southern California. Because if there's an area that needs transit, this place needs good transit. It needs it in a big way. And, you know, I'm hoping that we're going to get the support. I hope that we can continue to drive these kind of improvements. Because the other thing I've learned, we've got a group of employees that want to make a difference. And we've got a group of employees that are stepping up in a big way. You know, we just had our first marketing program. We had our first online ticket sale this Thanksgiving weekend.
I used it.
You did use it. Well, we had the highest number of riders. We had a lot of standing room only trains on the Thanksgiving holiday. I think, you know, once again, we went out and we found what we think was the market, and we marketed. We had the $8 fare, and people used it. These trains, you know, our ridership numbers were up pretty significantly year over year. I think from last Thanksgiving we were 1%. 11 on one and 18 on the other. So 11 on one day and 18 on the other. Yeah. And then you sit down and you think, you know, even the highest peak was I think 08 or 07, and they ran more trains, and we were almost the same number. I mean, there's a demand for the product. People will ride it. We just need to do it better. I got to give you a little update. You know, we've really started to market the corporate program. And you know, when we first went in and did an analysis, 25% of our revenue came from 118 corporate partnerships. Well, we've partnered up with a company called Wild at Work, and so they're a marketing arm. You saw the website.
I used it.
You used it. If you haven't gone to Wild at Work, you need to look at the website because there's all kinds of deals on there. And they have all these corporations that are partnered with them that now we have access to. Just in our catchment area, there's 8,000 more customers that we haven't touched yet. So think about that. 118, 25%. We've got another market of 8,000 companies that have industries and corporations along our stations. You don't think we're going to grow this railroad? Everybody said, oh gee, you know, we're in a recession, people aren't riding. I'm going to call it bullcrap, because we should be having more riders. But you know, there's a heck of a bright future. We know that we've got a good marketing program. We've got a safety program. We're partnered up with USC, doing some good things there. We're doing some good things operating. On-time performance is coming up. Even with the mechanical fleet that we have. You know, we've got 30 locomotives with over 1 million miles on them, which is way past a normal overhaul. And these guys are doing great things with better maintenance practices. You know, I spent 6 years in the garbage business, and if there's anything I learned a lot about was maintenance, because you live and die in the garbage business with your trucks. We put 32,000 trucks a day on the road, and if you had a garbage truck go down, there's pretty big problems, because you don't have extra routed trucks, and there's a lot of unhappy garbage guys. They got to go pick somebody's other's route up. And if there's one thing you don't ever want to do, don't ever tick off a garbage man, because they're tough guys. They make railroad guys look like wieners. I've had some interesting meetings at 4 o'clock in the morning with garbage guys. I'll tell you. I was in the Bronx, New York, and we're going to have a meeting with our drivers. And my goodness, I wish I could repeat that discussion, but all I can say is that's one of those nights that I'll never forget. Is my night in the Bronx, New York, doing a safety briefing with a bunch of garbage drivers. But so anyways, we're getting better at maintenance. We're getting better at a lot of things. and it's all about fundamentals. You know, it's not about being fancy. It's about, you know, you always hear, I'm always such a sports guy. I love sports. You know, if you look at the really good teams, they're always good at fundamentals. You know, you look at the teams that win championships. Of course, we talk about LA because everybody loves the Lakers, but you know, think about what they do well. They pass the ball well, they rebound well, they play good defense. They know how to play the game. That's why they win. You know, and of course, coming from Indiana, everybody knows John Wooden was a Hoosier. And John Wooden grew up about, I don't know, 15 miles from where I grew up. And of course, I love John Wooden. I think the guy was a class act. You know, if you ever read his books, Pyramid for Success, and you look at how he coached the game, you know, all great companies or all great organizations really are good at fundamental things. And I think that being a good railroad is just doing fundamental things well. And getting everyone to know what drives the performance and what drives the organization. And you try to keep it real simple. You don't get overly complicated. And you know, I don't have any great insight. I'm a pretty meat and potatoes guy. I'm a guy that, you know, we're going to do it this way, and that's the way we're going to get very good at those things. And I'll take those chances. So, anyways, be glad to open it up to questions, or if there's anything I can answer tonight, or yeah.
I didn't get a chance to introduce myself, but I do commute. I commute from Orange County. And I'm looking forward to one of these days when you guys come from LA at a later time, because I'm in business development. And unfortunately, I can't leave usually at the time that the train leaves, and it would be much closer for me. So I commute an extra 25 to 30 minutes just to get on a train, to use the train system, and I do that. And I've been a very good advocate of it. And so I'm. 7:30. So, yeah, 7:30 would be great, just so we can go to dinners and different things like that. And I have a family and a child, and they look forward to me getting home. And by the way, my name is Natasha, and I work for Arcadis, and we're doing some work, and we do construction and business management. And I come and get informed, and then I spend my time in the evenings listening to you guys tell us about what's going on, and really learning about the system, and very interested in it, because I am actually commuting on it, and it's amazing the things that you see and what happens on the commuting and the time that you spend in the commute.
Well, you know, to your point, I think one of the things that we have missed is second shift. You know, we don't have, if you wanted to commute, we don't meet that second shift group. And, you know, you look at some of the areas that have, you know, hospitals or people who work shift work. There's pockets of that in these areas. I think we need to design something that deals with second shift workers. You know, I think, you know, the other big problem we always have is this first mile and last mile. But I think there's, you know, you want to talk about some really innovative things and some creative things. You know, if you're an employer, you know, I'd love to get to this point. You know, not everybody can ride peak train time, right? You know, if everybody wants to be at work at 8 o'clock that comes downtown LA, that creates a problem. Just because you can't put enough capacity in that one time slot. You know, I'd love to sit down and start working with different large organizations and see if we can do some changing up the time. Maybe you have a 7 a.m. start, maybe you have an 8 a.m. start, maybe you have a 9 a.m. start, maybe you have a 10 to 6 shift. And you design a train service that, let's say you have a large population of people that move between Riverside and Irvine, which is a big commute area. And so we start looking at, when you get to the station, you have employer shuttles that pick up those employees, take them back and forth to work, and you solve that first and last mile. And you design a schedule that says, look, I can extend my peak period if you'll work with me on staggering start times. Now, I don't know if employers would want to do that. I don't know if employees would be interested in doing that. But if there's a way, once again, we can stretch our capacity and get a lot more people on our trains if we start looking at some different things, different options, different services. But it's going to take a lot of work. I mean, that's why I love to come out and talk to people, because unless people start to think about these ideas, you know, if I'm working for a major employer and I've got, you know, 2,000 people that work in my facility, how can I help make their life easier? Because if you're a good boss, you're going to care about your employees too. You want to make sure that your employees come to work and they're not stressed out from spending, you know, an hour and a half each way trying to get to work. I mean, think about it. How many people come to work mad because of their commute? I'd much rather get them to where they get on the train and read the paper, you know, do whatever they want to do to decompress on their going home, so when they come home at night, they're nice to their kids and their family. You know, that's important stuff. It sounds goofy. Maybe it sounds goofy, but that ought to be what we do. You know, it's about quality of life. It's about helping people be successful. But it's not going, we're not going to solve these problems by doing the same thing over and over. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to do is say, look, guys, let's look at some options. I'm not saying I've got all the answers or my staff has all the answers, but we have to start looking at something differently if we're going to get different results. Because the status quo isn't okay.
Next question.
Sure.
How's the funding going for positive train control? And how do you feel about being really kind of the guinea pig for this system?
Well, the funding is in place. So
you need what, 200?
we've got roughly, what is it, Avery? 225 million roughly.
Right in that range.
Right in that range. Some, you know, we got enough with what we think is an adequate contingency. Actually, I'm pretty excited about having the opportunity to go first, because Union Pacific and BNSF have been great. Matter of fact, I'm going to Fort Worth the 12th of this month. We're going to spend some time with BNSF. They actually have a functioning PTC system down in Texas, and you know, if there is an area in the country that needs PTC, this is a great place to start. And you've got UP, BNSF fully committed to the timeline. I feel really good about where we are with it. Now, is there going to be challenges? I think anytime you start to introduce this kind of technology, I have a high confidence level, but I also know that I mean, I feel very comfortable we'll meet the federal mandate of 2015. Now, I don't want to pin myself down because I know I feel good about getting it done, but there still is, there's always some risk when you're putting in anything that's unproven technology. But, you know, I think that the team's done a great job. I think that things are in place to have a successful implementation.
You said 2015 because I know Metrolink has been committed to 2012 to try to get this.
When they first started, they were going to try to meet a 2012 deadline. And when we went in and really looked at it and talked with the FRA, talked to industry experts, I think, you know, we're shooting for 2012. Okay. I don't think that's, I mean, when I say 2015, that's a home, that's a given. But you know, 2012 will be more difficult. And you know, if I had to say what the probability was, it's not 100%. I can tell you that. So you know, I'm looking at listening to what industry experts say. I want to make sure we don't set up an unreasonable expectation that says we're going to make 2012 for sure, because I can't guarantee that. I don't think anybody can. There's just too many unknowns. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You say you fly. Would you get on an airplane with a blind co-pilot?
Blind co-pilot.
There's a reason I'm asking this question.
Okay, give me what the question is. What? You know.
Well, the answer.
Well, they couldn't pass the physical because there's standards.
Assuming he was on a co-pilot, you wouldn't go with a blind co-pilot. But that's exactly what happens when we ride in that kind of train. We have a crew of two. We have an engineer and we have a conductor. And you know, this